Welcome back to The Betrayed. I'm Gina Beck.
This is Drew Williams.
Thank you for listening. Thank you for liking, commenting, and subscribing. I really appreciate y'all.
Yeah, thank you guys so much. I love seeing the interaction and just seeing the growth. It's absolutely amazing. I can't thank you guys all enough. How are you, Gina?
I'm doing good. I burnt my thumb. That sucks. Oh, and I cut my finger. So that sucks. And my burn on my leg is healing. So I just feel a little broken, but I'm doing great.
She's pretty salty about her thumb, honestly.
Because it's my hand that I write with. So it's been a little difficult. But what a day to be alive. And I am just taking care of it.
That's all you can do.
It's my own fault. So, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good. You have good days, you have bad days, but I'm feeling really good today.
Good. I'm glad.
Yeah.
Let's jump into the podcast. We have a bunch of interesting things to talk about. I just want to start off by talking about a really dangerous app that everybody should be aware of. We may have a guest on in the future. He couldn't make it due to a headphone situation, but I still wanted to touch on this app, and he'll be able to put more of a context around it when he comes on. But I re-downloaded the app and I checked it out. Have you ever had Kick, Drew? Or
No,
Keek?
Keek. I don't know how you actually. I've always heard it pronounced kick, but I've never used it. I know people that do. It's one of those things. It's like it's not necessarily malicious, but obviously, from the things that you've been told, it's pretty malicious. There's some pretty nasty stuff on there.
While decoying, it's a great app to use because you can talk to other people. And I was able to find out that sometimes if someone doesn't give you their full name and you ask for their kick, their full name is on their kick.
Interesting.
But something that I wanted to touch on was there's a bunch of news articles that were just recently out, like Kick Messenger app to shut down. Like they've been talking about shutting down Kick for a long time, and how people have been caught using Kick to, talk to children, show them explicit pictures, etc.
Well, there's also we talked last episode about the girl that was the transgender woman named it was going to name Dakota, and she was making and selling porn through Kick and trading it with other pedophiles.
Disgusting. Yeah, pedophiles sent indecent messages to an undercover cop on Kick. Kick had a bunch of men in starting from when the app started until just recently. Like they had statistics going on over 6,000 men and counting that were on Kick doing predator, having predator behavior and stuff like that on the app. And I sent it to my friend who has a page called An App a Day Keeps the Sicko Away.
Yeah.
I sent it to her and I let her know, and she said she's going to look into it as well. Well, I re-downloaded Kick, and I looked in these groups because a man named Colton came to me telling me about these groups. So I re-downloaded it, and I went to them, and he was right. There are groups on there that are, for 13 to 20-year-olds. 15 to 28-year-olds, and they're in there hanging out, and you have to get approved to be in them.
That's really weird.
Yeah, messaging app Kick is shutting down. There's multiple news stories on that, but I the news stories on that back to 2018, 2017. So they never really shut down.
I was reading articles that went back as far as 2015. From
Really?
early days of it, they were already embedded with what I guess you would call sexual predators, but they've never been able to successfully shut it down. Which I don't think the people sitting over that are running the app are pedophiles themselves. I think it's people exploiting it.
No, I think that it doesn't need to shut down. I think they just need to monitor their app better. If an app like Facebook is taking down unnecessary posts and stuff like that all because of a report, then if someone reports predator behavior within group chats, it needs to be looked at.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't I mean, but it's been a problem for so long. It's how do you force a company to do something that everyone's been demanding for half a decade?
Well, when a Florida man is found guilty, and not only him but others, of sextortion and production of child pornography on apps like Kik and Snapchat, I mean, what else is a big slap in the face when it comes to your app? You know, I
Well,
mean,
this it's interesting because the sextortion thing actually like goes to a topic that I was gonna bring up later, but that's what Amanda Todd, like you said, you didn't know about. But Amanda Todd, she was probably the first one that really like people started hearing the term sextortion. She
mhm.
was she committed suicide in 2012. She was 15 years old, and she was extorted by a man in his 30s from her like early teens up till when she committed suicide. She made some mistakes. She flashed some people in a chat room. I forget. I think it was a blog TV. He eventually used that. They're called captors or captures. That's what they call themselves. Think of these type of predators that do this, and they've been around for a while. She ended up having everyone, I guess, on her Facebook or like MySpace, something like that. All her family saw this picture, all her friends, and then she got like slut shamed at school. She moved schools. The guy pushed for more stuff, and she actually stood up to him. He released the pictures again, and the exact same cycle repeated. And then she made that video that went super viral, where everyone calls it a suicide video, but it actually wasn't. It was kind of like her cry for help, like, this is what's going on. This is
Mhm.
what's going on with her. And then she committed suicide shortly after. The BC police in Canada, they really didn't do much early on. And there was this guy was ended up being connected to 34 girls around the world that were everywhere from Holland, Norway, and Canada. And his real name was Aiden Coben. And it took the Netherlands like 2 years to get the information that they already had. The Norwegians, I guess, already had all this information on him. And there was just a complete failure on the police departments. And he was exploiting other kids the same way.
That is so sad.
It is. It's very, very sad, and it's a lot of people don't even like talking about it because it is. It's really, really sad, especially when you go back and you watch her video and you know what this guy was doing. And this is I think some of the early times of online predators really, really exploiting stuff because he was using everything from Facebook, blog TV, things like that. Because it ended up all being on Facebook that he was releasing the picture.
Well, we will leave the suicide hotline in the description below. And also, something that I shared recently was a 3-digit suicide hotline number got approved, 988. And that was ABC7 Chicago that shared that. So if you want to Google and see if that, works in your area, or if you want to try 988, if you are feeling that way and you need someone to talk to, we will leave the longer number in the description, but also 988 is a number
Interesting. That
hotline that got approved. Yeah.
I didn't know about that. I mean, it's really a tragic subject, but that's really awesome they're having that type of outreach nowadays because depression and suicide is a real problem these days.
Yeah, the Federal Communications Commission has voted to establish 988 as the new designated phone number people can call for assistance with suicidal thoughts. The 3-digit number will make it easier for people to reach out for help. The proposal says calls made to 988 would, excuse me, guys, sorry, be directed to the existing National Suicide Prevention Lifeline, a national network of 163 crisis centers that is funded by the Department of Health and Human Services, so Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration. And currently, the Lifeline is available by calling 1-800-273-TALK, TALK, and through online chats. But in 2018, trained Lifeline counselors answered over 2.2 million calls and over 100,000 online chats. The proposal requires that, like all telecommunication carriers and interconnected voice over internet protocol, service providers make within 18 months any network changes necessary to ensure that users can dial 988 to reach the Lifeline now. So the FCC will seek comment on all aspects of implementation, including whether a longer or shorter time frame would be needed to make 988 a reality. Really,
See, that's that's amazing news that should have been way bigger headlines because I mean, you know me, I'm pretty news savvy on most stuff and I didn't read anything about that. I didn't see anybody posting it like on Instagram or anything. That's really good that they have. It's crazy those numbers, the stats that they have already. I mean, it just tells you the mental health outcry that we have in our country right now is just a real epidemic. I mean, that's good news. I mean, that's great. I hope it gets implemented nationwide. That's awesome.
I agree. I hope so too. That's amazing. Yeah, it's the most recent thing that I shared, and a lot of people have shared it. It shows that like people really care, and they think that it's just as awesome as well. So I think that's cool. We'll leave the story of Amanda Todd in the description as well. If you guys want to read her story for yourselves or see a YouTube video of it.
Yeah, I've got a great link. There's a Canadian broadcast called Fifth Estate that's got YouTube videos that are 100% free to watch. And it actually covers more of the whole story of Amanda Todd. I'll definitely make sure that that link is in the description.
I wanted to talk about Uber because I came across Uber received nearly 6,000 U.S. sexual assault claims in the past 2 years.
Yeah, so the stats that I got, so they had it was I don't know, oh, it was a US safety report that actually found this. In 2018, there was 3,045 sexual assaults during rides in the United States that year, with 9 people being murdered and 58 killed in crashes.
Wow.
Yeah, there's some
What?
pretty weird stats on all of it. They said December's report also revealed that Uber received 235 reports of rape.
That's
This
so
was this
scary.
this was a increase from the year before of 229, and 92% of all reported rapes from these stats were done by the driver.
Yeah, everybody, y'all gotta be careful. Like, I've taken Uber quite a few times, especially in out of town areas. So I had no idea about, and I've never seen an article like that before.
I mean, I totally believe in women empowerment and being able to go out and do things on your own. But ladies, be careful. At least go in large groups. Make sure your Uber driver actually matches who you're going to be picked up because there's a lot of guys faking that stuff. But apparently, there's guys already working for the company that are doing stuff because those are just the rapes. There was thousands of sexual assaults. What does that even really mean?
I've always said men who, have that predatorial behavior will gravitate towards jobs where they can be around a mass majority of people, women, children, whatever they're into. So, Uber, you're in a car, they're in control of driving, you're in the back seat, they can lock the doors, drive fast, take you somewhere, have a gun. It's a really scary situation, so for sure be careful.
That's the other thing that I know a lot of people don't like taking taxis because they're expensive, the drivers are rude and things like that, but licensed taxi drivers, they don't go through like super high clearance, but they go through real background checks. That's one of the bigger outcries from like the taxi companies, the cab companies, is
I was
because
just
they're
gonna ask, yeah, is that safer?
supposedly statistically it is now because they are licensed and regulated. I can't say 100% if that's true. I've taken a lot of taxi rides from being with my sickness, going to the hospital and stuff. And
I know that I took a $3 cab. They have it here where I live.
mhm.
In It's between like the hours of I think it's either 4 or 6 p.m. until 3 a.m. And you can call a cab and you can get it for $3 in between those times. And I know that I took it quite frequently when I was like younger in my early 20s. And the one of the men that drove me, we were communicating and talking and stuff, and he had to take UAs. So that's definitely regulated for sure.
Yeah, that's I mean that was one of the bigger, it was the insurance things too, and then the fact that taxi drivers go through a lot more to become a driver because with the Uber requirements are it's a basic background check, I think obviously not that well, and then you have to have a car that's no more older than 9 years, I believe. There's not much requirements.
That's so crazy. But, also there were a lot of allegations of sexual assault on cruise ships, and it jumped 67% year over year between July and September, according to statistics released last month by the Department of Transportation. And during that period, the third quarter of the year, there were 35 reported sexual assault incidents on a total of 6 cruise lines. Of those, the vast majority, 27, were committed by passengers, 5 by crew, and 3 by people who were neither passenger nor crew. That compares with 21 reported cases in the same time span.
Wow.
Yeah, and that wasn't.
I always forget about cruise ships, but they've had problems with that for a long time. I mean, wow, those numbers are scary.
Yeah, and that was in 2018. So far for 2019, the allegations of sexual assault have increased from 60 incidents in the first 9 months of last year to 79 during the same time period this year, a nearly 32% increase. There was no increase between 2017 and 2018. There was no clear explanation for the increase, although a lawyer who tracks the cruise industry said pure numbers could be one reason, like more people are expected to have gone on a cruise this year than last. Most cruise lines whose ships embark and disembark in the United States have to report allegations of a certain criminal acts as well as missing people to the Federal Bureau of Investigation under the Cruise Vessel Security, etc. So, like suspicious death, kidnapping, assault with serious bodily injury, tampering with a vessel, theft more than $10,000, etc. So they were reporting those allegations, and I mean, 32% increase, that is a lot. But then they found out that there was nearly 90% of its capacity and operations are from the US ports, so it's mainly US people that we're talking about.
No one ever likes to believe the stats about the our own people committing those things. I mean, evil come doesn't matter what country you come from, but that's scary that so there's basically no background checks on these things either, it almost seems like.
Well, yeah, I said, what was it? 5 crew. So there are background checks. It takes, I don't think a lot to work on a cruise ship, but it takes, you got to be able to handle like food. You got to, whatever you're going on for, you have to be able to qualify for. And then security, there's background, etc. And to be able to drive a ship, you have to go through a lot. So I guess, like I said, some men just gravitate towards jobs where they're around a lot of different people a lot of the time, and it's scary. You just
Mm.
have to be aware of where you're at, and
What a scary place to have a predator at. I mean, it's such a small spot.
right, and you're trying to go have fun in the middle of the ocean. That is super scary.
Yeah, it's so creepy and disgusting. That's
I've never been on a cruise, but I've always wanted to, and I know of friends and family who have been on one, and they absolutely loved it.
I've only
But
gone on one. I went on a cruise when I was in high school to Mexico, and it was really, really, really fun. It was really
yeah,
fun. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And this was a long time ago, so I mean, it's 15 plus years ago. But
that's cool.
uh, uh, I'm sure people are listening. Are like, absolutely, you guys you should go sometime. Find a place you actually want to go to. My parents love it. So one of the other things that like headlines that came up that's like more recent. There's a 34-year-old man that's been convicted and sentenced for raping a child in production of porn in Louisa County. Not exactly sure how to pronounce that. But the article goes on to say he stole the innocence of this child, said attorney Rusty McGuire. McGuire says it's one of the worst cases he's seen in his long legal career. This child went to an adult for nurturing, for things you would expect from an adult, and he turned it into her den of hell. Raymond W. Harry was convicted on 4 counts of rape of a child, 1 count of forcible sodomy, 50 counts of production of child pornography, and he was sentenced to 5 years mandatory life sentences, and an additional 100 years of mandatory prison. In October 2018, Virginia state troopers pulled Harry over and arrested him for transporting a large amount of methamphetamine. Real classy guy.
Wow.
Yeah. While in jail, Harry called his sister and asked her to go to his RV and delete the data on his phones and emails. and this is quoted, his sister went to the RV, turned on its electronic devices, immediately located videos, still images of the defendant sexually abusing a child. She called their father and told him about the abuse. He promptly reported the crime to the Spotsylvania Sheriff's Office, and the deputy's Commonwealth Attorney Robert Woods said, so he's been convicted, but he was basically raping a child and keeping her in an RV.
It is so sick. I mean, I've heard a lot of stories that pertain to similar situations, but even just the title of this headline and you know, the den of hell, I mean, it's disgusting.
Yeah, I mean, the detectives searched the RV. They found numerous cell phones, digital media storage devices, drugs, drug paraphernalia, guns, and they all called it they observed it the den of hell. Police and forensic examiners reviewed all media and found horrific rape and sexual abuse in photos.
Wow, that's so disgusting. And I'm sure that family members that find out this kind of thing, they're just as horrified as well, and they have no idea that things like this go on in a home. And then when you think about it, you start to come up with
Well, I mean, can you imagine if the sister instead deleted everything? I mean that really goes to show. I think most people are decent and would turn their own siblings in over
right.
something that horrific.
Mm-hmm. Ugh, so scary.
That poor child.
Yeah. Wasn't there more to the story or no?
I don't know if there was much more to. It's just all they do is talk about is just the amount of porn that he was making into it, and they found it all.
Didn't the amount of evidence reveal that his RV and places he stayed were his dungeness of or dungeons of abuse? He set up cameras, produced, directed, and carried out violent rape and sexual abuse of the child. The videos and photos documented his crimes, and his almost head-to-toe tattoos identified him in the photos and videos. The detectives who also identified props he used in his rape scenes to include sex toys, duct tape, bondage devices, and a cage. Shockingly, the videos also documented the defendant providing meth or other drugs to the child before the rapes. And officials said Harry was released from prison for a violent felony 2 years prior and returned to Spotsylvania, where he had access to the child. This is one of the
Vilest and most disgusting cases I've ever seen in my 20 years of handling these cases. The defendant made mistakes when he thought he could escape Lewis County. Most predators know of active child safety initiatives in Louisiana and stay away. The defendant stole the child's innocence, and we are happy the court sentenced the thief to 5 mandatory life sentences and an additional 100 years of mandatory time in prison. We are thankful to the Virginia State Police and Spotsylvania County Sheriff's Office, Middlesex County, well, that's a terrible name for a county, Middlesex County Sheriff's Office, Southern Virginia Internet Sex Crime Against Child Traffic Task Force, Spotsylvania Department of Human Services, Lewis County Sheriff's Office, and all their team for countless hours spent to ensure justice was served in this case. I hope all involved will sleep well, better knowing they rescued a child and ensured the defendant will never be able to harm another child again. The case was originally set for trial, but Harry pleaded guilty in the last minute. And thank you, G, for rescuing me on that. You can hear us. That was us doing our little Run DMC Beastie Boys moves right there. I totally lost my place on the article, but like it
no
blows me
problem. I
away.
got you. I got you.
No doubt, no doubt. But yeah, it's
Yeah, this is a disgusting man, and I hope I just I hope the worst for him for sure, and I hope the best for his family, and I hope that
oh,
she's
he's going
okay.
to deep hell in prison. He's gonna have a new hell.
Right.
That's
And something else that was crazy in California, a father and daughter, did you see that they were charged in kidnapping and rape of a Las Vegas woman? A father and a daughter were.
whoa. I didn't see
Yeah.
that article. Whoa.
Yeah, a Palmdale tattoo artist previously convicted of attempted murder and his daughter have been charged with kidnapping a woman in Las Vegas at gunpoint and sexually assaulting her in Southern California. So they're just all sorts of trouble. I
Does it
guess
say what county it was in SoCal?
Palmdale?
It was in Palmdale, so it was out in the desert.
Yeah. Stanley Alfred Lawton, 55, and his 22-year-old daughter, Shania Nicole Posh Lawton, are accused of dumping the 46-year-old woman in the desert. leaving her for dead a week after they kidnapped her. Uh, she was found by military personnel off a highway near Edwards Air Force Base last month. Officials have said that the woman was found cold and suffering from exposure and was lucky to be alive. No ransom was demanded for her release. The father and daughter knew the victim, whom they also forced to withdraw money from several ATMs, authorities said, but a motive in the attack has not been disclosed. A felony complaint was filed, though, very recently. And the pair are scheduled to be arraigned Tuesday.
I remember the news talking about the military finding the woman. I didn't know that there was that much wrapped around it because we've had so much crazy news lately. But
Yeah,
that is absolutely, I mean, thank God she escaped and those people found and they were found them because those type of people would have continued doing it till they did get caught. I
for
mean,
sure. And Lawton is being held of $4.5 million bail, while his daughter is being held of a $3.5 million bail. And they each are charged with kidnapping to commit robbery, attempted murder, kidnapping from outside the state, forcible rape, and 3 counts of first-degree ATM robbery. Disgusting. Lawton has prior convictions for attempted murder and robbery in cases dating to 1984, though the district attorney's office did not say where the crimes occurred. It was not immediately clear whether the pair had attorneys who could speak on their behalf, though. They're just father and daughter. I thought that was very
I mean,
crazy.
that just shows you that it comes in all forms. I mean, that's a
Yep.
well, it's just like this other article I've got right here is nine teenagers are suspected of repeatedly gang raping and sexually assaulting a 14-year-old. The suspects, ranging from the ages of 15 to 16, were arrested in Israel at the end of last month and were detained for more than 2 weeks before they were released to house arrest in recent days. The Hazaret's Daily reported, but details of the case were only cleared for publication this Tuesday, apparently. According to
Wow.
Channel 12, the girl said she was raped on multiple occasions by the groups of teenagers over a 4-month period. She said that she was originally she I'm sorry. She said that she originally met one of the teenagers through Instagram last August and then was introduced to his friends.
That's so scary meeting someone online and having because a lot of people they don't think about putting that much trust. Like I don't know how to describe it. Like you don't really like when I meet people online now, like especially like Facebook or something like that, or through comments that are commenting on my things, and I start talking to them in DMs or whatever. And at first, you don't really think conversations don't get that deep, obviously, for me at least.
Yeah.
But I don't think, oh, this is a bad person. I don't think, oh, this is a horrible person. I would never meet up with this person. Those are not my initial thoughts. I mean, I don't think deep into the people that I'm communicating with. I'm just trying to be positive, obviously. But that's so scary when you don't think about those things and you put your trust in someone. You go to meet them and this kind of thing happens.
Well, the report later went on to say that some of the assaults were said to have taken place in the homes of the boys while their parents were home. And in quotes, it's got, I asked them to stop, but none of them stopped. The girl said in her testimony, according to Channel 12, they cursed and humiliated me, causing me pain and bruising. In the end, I couldn't stand the pain anymore, and I went to the hospital. A senior individual with knowledge of the investigation told Channel 12 that it was clear that everything the girl said was backed up with the evidence and that the results that they were moving forward into indicting the teens. The 9 teenagers will appear at the Rishon LeZion Magistrate Court Wednesday, where police are expected to ask for an extension of their house arrest. 9 out of the 10 rape cases in Israel are closed by prosecutors without charge, according to an annual survey released last month, which found that a significant increase in reports of sexual assault and harassment. The reports by the Association of Rape Crisis Center in Israel found that in 2018, police opened 6,220 investigations into alleged sex crimes and harassment, including 1,166 suspected rape cases, marking a 12% increase compared to the previous year, which had a 40% increase since 2013.
Wow.
So people are just raping like crazy in Israel too.
That's so disgusting. Like we've been talking about, was it Israel that we talked about in our last pod, right?
It might have been one of those. I can't remember. Sometimes they just mush together.
Yeah. But also in Vermont, prosecutors who for decades allowed an alleged child rapist to avoid court through claims that he was dying now say they are determined to put him on trial as soon as possible. He was an ex-cop. The
Wow.
investigation published in November, so it was very recent, detailed how Leonard, retired New York detective Leonard Fort, has delayed his trial on felony sexual abuse charges by claiming since the mid 1990s that he needed a heart transplant, had less than a year to live, and had been referred to the end of life hospice care, precluding him from traveling from his home in Florida to face trial. The report showed that Fort, now 78, had spent those decades collecting boats and taking vacations, traveling several times to within a couple of hundred miles of the Vermont courthouse he was avoiding. Disgusting. And at December 9th status conference in the case following the publication of the article, a newly assigned prosecutor asked to proceed with the case quickly, prompting a judge to schedule a jury draw. We believe that Mr. Fort should be able to fly here to Vermont and that his trial should go forward as soon as possible, said John Campbell. He said that there would be further developments he planned to present to the court. So they're just trying to get this taken care of right away because he's just been living his life and lying to them about dying. And he's facing like 60 years in prison. Or no, Fort was initially convicted in 1988 and faced 60 years in prison. But a judge ordered a new trial after ruling that the female prosecutor who argued the case was overly emotional and displayed a fury seldom seen like this side of hell, he said. So it's just a big mess. But he's an ex-detective, so obviously there's going to be messes involved. But it's disgusting that someone of that, like I've said, he should be protecting, not.
Yeah, it's really scary when people in positions of power like that are just completely abusing the system and just being just as bad as the people, if not worse, in my book, just because you've taken an oath and you're just violating every part of it.
Exactly. To end the podcast, though, I'd like to bring back some facts. Let's talk about some facts.
Oh shit, I love these because you always get good ones.
Did you know that grapes catch fire in the microwave?
Seriously? Now you make me want to go try it.
It says if for some reason you have a craving for hot grapes, think twice before you give them a zap in the microwave.
Do they?
Because
Does it go into description? Is it because they have like alcohol traces or something like that?
the water beads in the grape create plasma, which results in a mini fireworks show.
Oh, so it actually has to do with being in the microwave. Interesting. Very
Yeah,
cool.
it's very interesting.
I'm gonna try that.
Ancient artists used rocks that had been magnetized by lightning. I guess around 2,000 years ago in what we now know as Guatemala. Creative people weren't just making remarkable art, but also using stunning or rather electrified materials for their craft. In June, the Journal of Science published findings explaining that ancient artists were creating sculptures using basalt rocks that were, is that how you pronounce it?
Assault?
Yeah. Were originally magnetized by lightning strikes.
Wow, that's pretty cool. I didn't know that
Mhm.
there any of the art down there was like magnetized. I'm gonna have to look into that. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, and they also said that less than 1% chance that this wasn't intentional, the lightning strike. So they, like, because you never know where a lightning strike's going to hit, you know?
I wonder if they were. I mean, those cultures were pretty advanced when it comes to stuff. I wonder if they were setting up like things to attract lightning, like they do when they kind of like I know like Benjamin Franklin did with supposedly with the key and thing like that. I wonder if they're trying to bring it when they would see the thunderstorms and coming in and things like that.
This one, yeah, that's pretty interesting. This is interesting, though, as well. Kids shouldn't shake their head to get water out of their ears after swimming.
Does it cause more damage having liquid in your ear or something like that?
Well, swimming can be a fun part of a healthy lifestyle for kids. I mean, I love swimming. It's one of my favorite things to do, and especially growing up, couldn't get me out of the water. Like I'd
Yeah,
always be the first one in, the last one out.
I was the
But
same way.
yeah, but they need to be safe in more ways than just knowing how to handle themselves near the deep end. For instance, researchers at Cornell University and Virginia Tech found that children who shake their heads to get water out of their ears may be causing brain damage. While that sounds dire, researcher Anuj Baskota also offered a solution for the problem, saying putting a few drops of a liquid with lower surface tension than water, like alcohol or vinegar, in the ear would reduce the surface tension force, allowing the water to flow out.
Interesting. People don't start putting rubbing alcohol in your kids' ears. If you're gonna do anything, use vinegar and look that up
Don't.
more.
Yeah. Yeah, there's just a lot of differences, and but it also like just it's a 2019 fact. So
Well,
I guess don't
don't
shake your don't shake your head after
don't
getting out of the pool.
don't be like a dog.
I've never thought about that, and I don't think I've ever just like shook my head. You know, I
Yeah,
damp it with a towel.
I don't think I've ever done that either. But obviously, it's a problem.
Did
People are making articles about it, so
you know diamonds can grow inside of other diamonds?
yeah, I've heard that before.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I thought it was very interesting.
yeah,
I never
diamond,
knew that.
they're pretty crazy.
This one, I did it was like a science project, or it was like some kind of project in sixth grade, or maybe it was like about animals. Like we all had our own animal and we did a project on it. Mine was the Komodo dragon. Well, so this one is interesting because I remember this. It says Komodo dragons have a suit of armor beneath their scales. Komodo dragons are insane animals. I
Yeah, they
remember.
got they got like I know their mouth is like filled with some like super bad bacteria. If you get bit by one, like it's almost like flesh-eating virus or something like that. And they're
Yeah, yeah,
massive.
they're known as prehistoric lizards.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
They're pretty nasty but cool.
The bones cover the dragons from head to tail, creating a chainmail that protects the giant predators, according to the study.
I didn't know they had like a bit, yeah, exactly like a suit of armor basically.
I guess a newly discovered organ helps us detect pain.
It's
Hmm.
it's an organ. Have they named
Yeah.
it yet?
It says in August, science shared data that details the discovery of a new human organ. Researchers discovered a previously unknown mesh like organ covering the skin that senses dangerous environmental stimuli. The study reported while it doesn't have a specific name, the organ is made up of specialized glial cells. Patrick Enfors, a professor of Sweden's institute, explained our study shows that sensitivity to pain does not occur only in the skin's nerve fibers but also in this recently discovered pain sensitive organ.
Well,
Interesting.
they've always said that like your skin itself is already an organ, so they're just finding more layers of it. That's pretty cool. I
Yeah.
wonder if that will lead to more like you know pain relief without using like opioids and stuff like that. I mean, there could be some breakthroughs there.
Have you heard of the lovers of Modena?
Hmm, that seems familiar, but no, I'm gonna say no.
Well, they recently found out the lovers of Modena were men. And back in 2009, archaeologists who were like,
Excavating?
yeah. Thank you so much for saving me on that one. I was about to butcher it.
I got you.
The Italian city of Modena, though, found a pair of skeletons that had been buried side by side and shared a grave for 700 years. It's such a long time. In September, they revealed that two figures who had been deemed the lovers of Modena were both male. One of the study researchers, Luigi, explained the breakthrough discovery in a statement, saying at present no other burials of this type were known in the past. Several graves were found with pairs of individuals laid hand in hand, but in all cases it was a man and woman. What was the link between the two individuals of the Modena burial instead remains a mystery at the moment. So they're just like trying to celebrate, and what I see, especially from the picture, they're celebrating the fact that this, like, because the lovers of Modena is a story, it's a historical story, And so they're trying to celebrate, from the looks of it, the fact that stuff like this even happened way back when, or it could just be that they were buried next to each other. Obviously, they don't know.
I mean, homosexuality has been, I mean, recorded
Forever,
forever. I
right?
mean, even
Yeah.
like the word lesbian comes from the root word Lesbos, which was the island of Lesbos. It's been around for a while. I mean, people want to pretend like it hasn't, but it has been.
Yeah. You know that human bodies can move for more than a year after death? I didn't know that.
I knew that bodies could move. I didn't know up to a year though. That's
Human bodies are capable of some pretty amazing things, and that now includes the fact that corpse can move for more than a year after death. According to research findings from September, Alison Wilson from the Australian facility, she did a lot of research and she explained what we found was that the arms of corpse were significantly moving, so that the arms that started off down beside the body ended up out to the side of the body. Wilson and team said they believe the movement is caused by the body's ligaments drying out, shrinking, and contracting.
interesting.
Very.
I wonder if like some ideas of like zombies and stuff came from that, because like people like saw bodies moving and stuff like that.
Right. Do you know of a lot of like Leonardo da Vinci's work? You know, he tried to design the largest bridge in the world, right?
He did a lot of amazing things. Not all of them would have actually worked, but he designed a lot of stuff. That man was brilliant.
Well, fact now is Leonardo da Vinci's design for the largest bridge in the world would have worked.
It would. This one
Engineer
would have. Wow.
Yep. Engineers from MIT proved this year that Leonardo da Vinci's 1502 design from what would have been the largest bridge at the time would indeed have worked had it been built. Carly Bast, who was involved in the reconstructing of the bridge, originally intended to connect all of it with the neighboring city of, like, there was via a 3D model and everything, and they said that it's the power of geometry that makes it work. This is a strong concept, and it was well thought out.
I wonder if anyone's gonna replicate it. That'd be really cool to go see. Because he had a lot of stuff that scaled up didn't work, but he had a lot of things that did, and this is obviously another one. Because he was just, that guy was absolutely brilliant.
Right? This is interesting. I don't know if I believe it.
All right, let's hear it. I mean,
I have two more.
all right.
Oh wait, I have, I think, three more, maybe. Okay, yeah, I have three more. Okay, this one is people who function on less sleep may have a gene mutation. What do you think about that?
Well, I got a mitochondrial disorder and I got fucked up sleep patterns.
People who can get by on only a few hours of sleep may seem like superheroes to those who of us who need our 8 hours. And it turns out I mean, I'm a night owl, and a lot of the people around me are not, besides my online friends. Turns out they may indeed have a particular kind of rare quality that gives them that unique ability. A 2019 study published in Neuron shows that a mutation of the B1 receptor allows some people to function on shorter spans of sleep better than those without the mutation.
So
University.
what you're telling me is we're X-Men.
I don't know. University of California, San Francisco. His name is Luis. He's a neurologist. Released a statement about the significance of the findings, saying this research is an exciting new frontier that allows us to dissect the complexity of circuits in the brain and the different types of neurons that contribute to sleep and wakefulness.
Well, I always wanted to be an X-Men, so I'm excited about this.
It reminds me of that movie, though. You know that spin-off, the disaster movie, where they try to make fun of X-Men, and he like has the chicken wings instead of the angel wings.
Oh man.
Uh,
You got more? That was a good one.
I think I have two more. Popping a bottle of champagne releases the same shockwaves as a jet. I think I knew this. I mean, you do know this if you've popped a bottle of champagne or seen it.
I could totally see that. Makes people happy too.
Yeah. And then my last one to close up the podcast, a human-sized penguin once lived in New Zealand. That would be a sight to see. I love penguins. We tend to think of penguins as like waddling birds who live in rather cold places, but thanks to a 2019 study published in the April edition, we also learned that they used to be huge. Scientists found bones in New Zealand that prove that a human-sized penguin known as cross, I might butcher it, crossvalia. I'm going to spell it Crossvalia. Crossvalia.
I would say it like that, but it's probably wrong. Let's go with it.
They once lived roughly 60 million years ago. Gerald Mayer, he's a paleontologist, discussed the monster penguin, saying the fossils discovered have made our understanding of penguin evolution a whole lot clearer.
Well, yeah, because there's penguins that are in what you would consider more of a warm climate. I believe there's even penguins in New Zealand. So that would make sense, but that's crazy that there was a giant one. I wonder if it was aggressive.
It doesn't say. I'll maybe have to look more into it and we can talk about it in our next pod. And how about I end it on this last one, because this is kind of interesting too. A lost continent was identified in the Mediterranean. I messed up.
Keep going.
In the Mediterranean. Right?
Mediterranean?
Can you cut this out? Mediterranean.
I think we should keep it in just because it's so funny.
I can't
Mediterranean?
You're
going to get me to say it wrong. You're going to say it wrong so many times, I'm going to say it wrong. This is good. We're keeping it in. Keep going. You don't have to say the word. Everyone knows what we're talking about now.
Okay. Sorry. Forget Atlantis without realizing it. Vast numbers of... I can't even read it. Okay, sorry. Forget Atlantis without realizing it. Vast numbers of tourists spend their holiday each year on the lost continent of Greater Andria. Researcher Dwayne Van Hensbergen said in reference to a 2019 study published in the journal, they did like a big research in the
Mediterranean?
Yeah. Located in
Mediterranean?
region, the piece of the continental crust the size of Greenland was identified as a lost continent thanks to research coordinated by the Utrecht University. So I thought that was very interesting, even though the focus is really taken off because I just laughed crazy at that name. But that is really insane because, I mean, if you think about Atlantis, that's insane. You know?
Oh yeah, I mean, there's a lot of crazy stuff they're discovering now because of just technologies. Just we're unlocking a lot of our older history. It's really cool.
Exactly. So stay tuned for some more 2020 facts.
Yeah, well, actually, hopefully we'll record before Christmas. So maybe we'll get to do a recording before Christmas. We probably should say Merry Christmas just in case.
Yeah, Merry Christmas, everybody. We love you. We appreciate you. Thank you for listening, liking, subscribing, and stay tuned for our next podcast. It'll be next Friday.
Much love, y'all. Peace. Banana cats.
Banana cats.